In the heart of their cozy home, the tension was palpable. Jake and Emily stood in their bathroom, a space where privacy and familiarity had transformed into a battlefield for their dispute. The scent of freshly brewed coffee wafted from the kitchen, and the soft morning sunlight streamed through the bathroom window, casting a warm glow on the scene. Their argument had ignited over a trivial matter, the toilet seat. Jake had left it up, and Emily, interpreting it as a deliberate act of carelessness, let her frustration boil over.
Jake, it feels like you always do this.
Her voice conveyed irritation and exasperation that reverberated in the room. She pointed at the raised toilet seat as if it were evidence of a grave transgression.
You never think about anyone else in this house. It's like you don't care.
Jake, bewildered by her sudden outburst, stammered,
"What do you mean? It was an accident. I didn't even notice."
But Emily was already on a path of escalating emotions. She sighed and then spoke with heightened intensity, her voice trembling with irritation.
You said the same thing last time. It's like you do it on purpose.
As the argument raged on, the frustration etched deep lines on Emily's face, her arms crossing tightly over her chest. Jake's brows furrowed as he desperately tried to make her understand, but the tension between them seemed as insurmountable as the ocean's depths. The bathroom's tile floor felt cold beneath their feet, a stark contrast to the warmth of the morning sun on their skin. With each word they exchanged, the space around them seemed to shrink, the walls echoing with their raised voices. The argument between Jake and Emily had escalated to a fever pitch, the bathroom's once warm atmosphere now heavy with their emotional turmoil. Jake tried to reason with Emily, but her frustration seemed as insurmountable as the ocean's depths. As their voices echoed off the bathroom walls, something in the room began to shift. A subtle chill crept through the space, as if unseen eyes were watching the lovers' discord with great interest. It was as if the room itself had taken a deep breath, and then, in a hushed exhalation, a shiver-inducing presence manifested, casting an eerie shadow over the once familiar surroundings. Meanwhile, in a more subtle plane of existence, an otherworldly realm unfolded. Here the bathroom took on an ethereal quality, a parallel reality, drenched in surreal, dreamlike hues. An uncanny feeling pervaded this space, suggesting that it was both similar and drastically different from the physical realm. In this otherworldly bathroom, the entities, spectral and translucent, resided, their presence flickering like distant stars. They watched the couple with an unsettling curiosity, their awareness tethered to the ebb and flow of emotions in the physical realm.
Your discord is palpable, isn't it?
Yes, such negativity. It's a feast for us.
We've become stronger with each word they utter.
To those dwelling in the physical plane, the entities were invisible. But for those who were attuned to the subtler existence, they were a haunting, almost cosmic presence, silently feeding on the discord that was as palpable to them as an electric current. The bathroom, once a sanctuary of personal hygiene, had now become an arena for a paranormal power struggle, as the entities continued to thrive on the lovers' negativity. Back in the physical realm, Jake and Emily's argument raged on, their voices growing louder and more intense with each passing moment. Emily's face had reddened with anger, and her words cut through the air like sharpened daggers.
You can't keep blaming everything on accidents, Jake. It's about respect, and it feels like you have none for me.
I do respect you, Emily. I love you, and I don't want to fight over something so trivial.
But the entities in the subtle plane, having fed on their discord, had begun to exert a subtle influence on the lovers. Unbeknownst to Jake and Emily, the entities whispered, planting seeds of doubt and resentment.
She doesn't understand, Jake. She's being unreasonable.
You deserve better than this, Jake. She's overreacting.
Maybe it's time to reconsider this relationship.
As the argument continued, the influence of the entities became more pronounced. Jake and Emily, who had once been deeply in love, found themselves unable to see eye to eye. The subtle changes in their perceptions, driven by the entities, fueled their disagreement. Emily's voice quivered with frustration.
I can't believe you're defending this, Jake. It's like you're deliberately pushing my buttons. Hey.
Jake, a mixture of confusion and frustration, clouding his judgment, retorted,
You're the one making a mountain out of a molehill. This is insane.
With each word, the lovers seemed to drift further apart, driven by the unseen forces that had manifested in their lives. The entities in the subtle plane reveled in the chaos they were sowing, a sinister dance of negative energy. The tension was suffocating, and their once loving relationship was slipping into a dangerous abyss, manipulated by entities that thrived on discord. The ordinary had now collided with the extraordinary, and Jake and Emily were unwittingly becoming pawns in a supernatural struggle that threatened to consume their love. Jake and Emily's argument showed no signs of abating. The entities, now having whispered insidiously into the couple's minds, watched with a malevolent satisfaction.
Can you feel it, Jake? The weight of her anger? Yes, the more she shouts, the more we grow.
Her emotions are our sustenance.
As the argument raged on, the entity's presence in the subtle plane began to change. What was once flickering and ethereal began to solidify. Their spectral forms grew denser and more substantial, like shadows materializing in the dim light of a fading day. With every exchange of harsh words, the entities seemed to gain weight and mass in their realm. Their voices, too, grew louder, a discordant chorus resonating in their ethereal realm.
Her anger is intoxicating. I can almost taste it.
I feel stronger with every moment. We are becoming real.
Keep the discord alive. We thrive on it.
Unbeknownst to Jake and Emily, the entities were using their argument as a conduit to gain a foothold in their lives. The discord and negativity acted as a catalyst, fueling the entity's growth on the subtle plane. Jake, his face etched with frustration, shouted,
Why can't you see my side, Emily?
Emily, her eyes brimming with tears, retorted,
Because you're not even trying to understand mine.
The entities, now substantial and formidable, extended their influence even further, casting a shadow over the lovers' minds, making it increasingly difficult for Jake and Emily to find common ground. The entity's sinister presence in the subtle plane had transformed what was once a sanctuary of love into a harsh battleground on the physical plane. The lovers were caught in a web of supernatural manipulation, their relationship hanging in the balance, manipulated by the entities that thrived on discord. As the entities continued to thrive on the discord between Jake and Emily, their presence grew stronger in the subtle plane. The malevolent forces reveled in the lovers' strife, their ethereal forms turning into a heavy, ominous mass.
They're destroying themselves, and we're growing stronger.
With each argument, we inch closer to our goal. There are unwitting accomplices.
In the physical realm, Jake and Emily, their relationship poisoned by the entity's influence, struggled to find solace in each other's presence. The bitter arguments had become a daily ritual, an endless cycle of frustration and resentment. Years passed, and the entities, now enormous and grotesque in their subtle plane, exerted a terrifying grip on the couple. But the true horror would only reveal itself in the physical world. As time wore on, both Jake and Emily began to experience mysterious health issues. It started with fatigue and unexplained pains, but it soon escalated into something far more sinister. They were diagnosed with cancer, a merciless disease that emerged with a vengeance, consuming their bodies. The entities, now formidable and monstrous in both realms, had won. Their influence, once subtle and insidious, had manifested into a devastating reality. In their final days, as Jake and Emily lay side by side in a sterile hospital room, they realized the extent of the malevolent forces that had torn their love apart. Their lives, once filled with affection, had been cruelly manipulated by entities that thrived on their negativity. Both passed away, their love shattered, their spirits broken. Sorry, but that is the ending of the story. The story serves as a grim reminder that the negativity we allow in our lives can have dire consequences, festering like a cancer in our relationships and well-being. It's a cautionary tale, urging us to recognize the destructive forces that may exist within our own lives and to choose love, understanding, and positivity over discord.